for the fourth fight of the night, we've got an undefeated fighter in Vitor Petrino, 9-0, 2-0 in the UFC now, facing off against Modestas Bukauskas, 15-5, now 3-3 in the UFC. Bukauskas, this is his second stint, so was 1-3 in his first stint, had to leave, came back, is now 2-0 in his second stint, and is still much of the same fighter. He's a kickboxer by trade. He's going to stand at distance. He moves fairly well, but does tend to get caught up against the fence. He's now been knocked out 3 times in his career. So while his durability isn't necessarily a chink in his armor, it's not a strong suit by any way either. And given who he's fighting in Vitor Petrino, I think that could come to be a little bit of a problem here. Vitor Petrino is essentially a new age Paulo Costa in a way, but he fights. So 2-0 in the UFC now. Now Petrino at 9-0, 4 of his 9 wins have a combined 1-23 record. That is 4 fights that he's gone and fought a combination of a 1-23 record. So some of the opponents have been questionable, but we know exactly what he is. I mean, he's a freak physique. He is as strong and ripped as you could imagine, and operates in just the fashion that you would imagine someone that looks like him does. He throws everything into every strike. He 110%. Everything is with the intent to knock you out, and he's got good top control and wrestling as well. His cardio is a little questionable, but I'm not really sure if Bukauskas is going to be the one to question that. But with that said, he leaves a lot of gaps. As he goes forward. He has big swings, big motions. And Bukauskas as a kickboxer, he's very accurate. He's very technical. And while he might lack power in some instances, just that straight knockout power and volume, he can hit people clean. And I think that there's going to be some opportunities to counterstrike if he can defend those takedowns for him to be able to see success here. And the odds opened up. Let me pull them up real quick. I know they opened up short of 200. They opened up at minus 275 actually for Petrino, and they've moved down all the way to minus 235 after having a dip all the way down to minus 200 for a short period. So people sold on Petrino initially at the price, got it all the way down to where he was minus 200, and now it's back up a little bit. And so I'm going to buy back into Bukauskas here at plus 200. I think that there's definitely an avenue where Petrino can be able to get the takedowns, land a big punch, and put Bukauskas out, and really put his name into the stars. But I think that Bukauskas has made some minor adjustments to his style and to his movement that'll keep him off the fence. I think that he'll be able to hit Petrino clean on an intermittent on the in-betweens. And I think that we could end up seeing Bukauskas either win this by decision, being really passive and offensive, or we could see him getting a knockout where he's able to wobble Petrino and then take advantage of it. But Andy, I'd love to see where you have this fight because it's a weird one by the odds.
Yeah, so I took instead of taking a side, I actually took a total here. I like the under 2.5, and I think that Bukauskas has improved his takedown defense and maybe stops what Petrino wants to do offensively. But I just see more paths for either of these guys getting finished, where Petrino can get it done on the feet. He's got 6 KOs outside of the UFC and a submission win after dominating the Pleasure Man himself in his return to UFC action. Also, he has 2 of his 3 losses by knockout that happened in the UFC, and they were to Khalil Roundtree and Jimmy Crute. And I feel like those 2 losses are likely similar competition skill-wise, potentially to what Petrino offers here. I know you're not as high on Petrino in this bout specifically, but I think that Petrino has the potential to maybe kind of fit in with those names of Roundtree and Crute in the division at his peak. However, there's also a path here where Petrino gets gassed, and then Modestas kind of takes advantage and gets the finish on the more green fighter in a sense, where Petrino is a bit newer. He doesn't have a ton of fights under his belt. And realistically here, like, he hasn't had a very hard run to start in the UFC, in my opinion. Like, those first 2 fights were really not that difficult. So I'm going to go with under 2.5 rounds here at minus 143. That's for a unit. And I'll probably tail you on your play. I'm not going to endorse it myself, but I probably will go with the dog here because I do agree that I think that the odds should be a bit closer than that. And it's interesting that they have kind of teeter-totted and went from super favored to Petrino at first, down, and then started to head back up. And maybe that's also just the favorites effect as we kind of see as the week goes on, right? Where people continue to just slam the favorite and it just goes up as the week goes along. So I've got the under 2.5 here at -143. Rick has Bukauskas plus 200. What unit size are you doing on that?
Half unit here. Not overly confident, but still like it.
There we go. Those are our 2 plays for the fight. Stay with us as we continue on with Renat Fakhretdinov versus Alizu Zaleski.